All right, how are we doing, everybody? Welcome back to Real Estate Bites. This is episode number 85. Again, missed last week. I apologize for being so spotty this year. It's been 2025 is a bit crazy. Last Friday, I was with my oldest daughter. We were taking a visit down to Ohio State University as she is getting prepared to attend school there in the fall. So that's where I was on Friday. Again, still haven't figured out how to schedule future programs. So at any rate, here we are. We're back. This is Real Estate Bites. I'm coming at you most Fridays at the noon hour during your lunch hour where you can sit and watch. And I'm trying to bring you some quality content here, talking about the state of real estate, both locally here in Lorain County, as well as the state of Ohio. I'd like to give you some insight on what goes on behind closed doors in the real estate world. And this week, I want to talk to you about the state of Ohio and some of the things that are going on legislatively in an effort to address housing affordability here in Ohio. So last Wednesday, 9 days ago, I went down to an event at the Ohio State House in Columbus, where it was an event for realtors, and we sat and we listened to lawmakers and we listened to representatives from Ohio Realtors and some other people who represent different facets of the industry throughout the state. And they were talking about what is happening at the state level in an attempt to address housing affordability. And listen, I'm going to say something that's obvious, but it's also counterintuitive for me to say because, well, I make my living off real estate. So the obvious thing I've got to say is that housing prices need to come down, and my fellow colleagues probably aren't going to hear that. The reason it's counterintuitive is obviously the greater a home price is, the more money I make, the more money my colleagues make on a commission. As a landlord, the higher my rent is, right? The better that's supposed to be for me as well. But for the general health of my fellow citizens, of my fellow Americans, of I think the economy in general, housing prices need to come down. When people are strapped, spending so much money just to stay in a place, whether it's their home that they have purchased or they're renting, it obviously leaves them with less to spend elsewhere, less to invest in their future, less to go buy in your regular everyday economy. So housing prices need to come down. And I've been arguing since the inception of the show, which is now, again, we're episode number 85. I've missed, I think, 4 weeks out of the last 89. So we are, a year and what would that be? A little over a year and a half into this program. And I have been arguing that the only relief that we're going to see with housing pricing is either a massive influx of inventory, which doesn't happen quickly, or a major job loss recession, which nobody wants to see. So the state of Ohio is actually doing some things to try to address the former issue, the inventory problem. And, I got to tell you, before I jump into some of the details about that, I have been very critical of realtor organizations in the past. Sometimes I think deservedly so, but man, I got to tell you, I was really impressed with this event last Wednesday, and to see all the activity and the ideas going back and forth between the Ohio Realtors and the state legislative body. Again, I was very impressed. I often wondered, what am I getting for the dues that I'm paying? And the dues they're not breaking me, but they're not cheap. You're talking costs about $1,000 a year just to maintain my license and my status as a realtor. So what's it doing for me, but I saw what it's doing for me last Wednesday. And again, I'm super appreciative of it. And I was very, very impressed by what I saw. So what did I see? What am I talking about here? So I've talked about a number of pieces of legislation that have been introduced to the State House that are aimed at either reducing costs or tax burdens for the construction of homes. One we talked about was tax credits for construction companies or nonprofits that are building multifamily housing in the state. We talked about how the state is trying to influence municipalities to be a little more loose with their zoning laws. And, so I really got a good picture of how all those things could come together when I was at that event last Wednesday. So here's an example of what they've been doing. So they really want municipalities to loosen their zoning laws, right? They're targeting infill development. So what this is, you've got a city that's been around for 100 years or whatever. You've got homes that are that old, densely packed into a city center, and sometimes they end up abandoned. Sometimes, they get condemned, and then you have this condemned home that, when it was built, the new zoning ordinances don't allow for new construction there, and it's also might just be zoned single family residence. Well, the state is trying to influence municipalities to loosen up their zoning laws, allow multifamily units to be built inside of single family zoned areas, allow builders to build properties that are that don't necessarily conform to current zoning codes, but in a sense sort of have a blanket exemption from those zoning ordinances, and then give those builders tax incentives to do that work. So let's start to show you some examples here of what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to the city of Lorain. This is their zoning map. Okay. So what you see here, the various shades of green, mostly, let's see if you can see my cursor. I'm not sure if you can, but mostly this sort of the deeper green and the lighter green that you see basically up through the center of the picture. That's all single family residential zoning. And so the state wants the city of Lorain and similar municipalities to loosen their zoning rules and allow multifamilies, whether you're talking about doubles, triples, or 10-unit apartments, to be built inside of those single family residentially zoned areas. Now, in order to really influence the city of Lorain, what the state is doing is they will withhold CHIP funding from the city of Lorain in a trade for them to relax these zoning laws. So what is CHIP funding? That is community housing improvement planning and projects. This CHIP funding, it's in the amount of millions of dollars. It gets handed out to communities all throughout the state. Lorain is often a recipient. I think the last round of CHIP funding went to Lorain, Sheffield Lake, Amherst, and North Ridgeville. And so if these communities want to receive that CHIP funding, that grant money that they can then give to people in their community and businesses in their community to repair homes, to fix up businesses, then if they want that money, then they have to be willing to play ball with the state and loosen their zoning so that people can come in and build multifamily housing. Now, here's another thing that the state, or that actually Ohio Realtors did in cooperation with the state. And this is where I really got impressed. So Ohio Realtors hired professionals to put together these sorts of plans. This is a single family home, 3-bed, 3.5 bath, 1,554 heated square feet, as it says. So look at the profile of this home. This would fit into one of those. This is perfect for infill construction. It's exactly what it was meant to do. This is the kind of building that you could put in a very small, thin lot that you find in city centers, where they could empower and subsidize the demolition from a land bank or a community to come in and knock a building down. And then these are supposed to be pre-approved plans. So a group, a builder, a community, a nonprofit organization could present these plans to a municipality and get blanket exemption for this. So if a builder is going to come in and build this specific property inside we're still using the city of Lorain as an example, then once these are adopted and pre-approved by the city of Lorain, as long as they're submitting this plan, then they can forego the permitting process and save all that money on the front end of a project, which helps them to build this thing less expensive. And so these are not just a cute little colored drawing. These are full-on plans with floor plans, electrical plans, elevations, footer and foundation details. I mean, these are full-on architectural drawings that Ohio Realtor and the state of Ohio have put together. There's 6 of these plans. This is a single family plan, right? They also have multifamilies. So here's another example of a multifamily home. This is a duplex that they would submit for pre-approval from a city. The city adopts this as a pre-approved plan, and it allows a contractor or a builder to forego the permitting process, or at least mitigate the permitting process to be much less expensive and time consuming than it typically would be. This allows that builder to go in, do some infill development with the relaxed zoning laws, build this building, create more housing for people to get into, do this as inexpensive as possible. And then, oh yes, if the other bills go through, once this is built, you can then apply for the tax credits for the building of this actual structure. So this is a fantastic series of legislation and a fantastic idea here with these pre-approved plans that the state and Ohio Realtors have put together as an initiative to help combat the housing affordability crisis here in the state of Ohio. There's some other things that I'd heard that I need more research on. I mean, I was there for 6 hours, so there's no way I could fit even, a good summary into this one program, but this is the one that I wanted to talk about. So if you're a real estate professional and you're seeing this, if you're a builder and you're seeing this, you need to share this. These things need to be presented to the communities. I plan on printing these off and submitting them to my community's zoning department, the planning department or the planning committee, this city council. This is just a great idea for lot sizes that no longer conform to current zoning rules, to infill development where you've got blight, where you could create brand new housing for more people and do it as affordable and as quickly as possible. Great incentives to create more housing here in the state of Ohio. Another thing that I'd heard them talking about was there was an Ohio representative who had worked with a county. I want to say it was, I forget what it was. I'm not gonna lie, but I have his number. Plan on getting a hold of him and getting some more education. But they found a way to combat and win against the blanket increase in property taxes in their county. I didn't understand the legal mechanisms. I need this guy to educate me, but I definitely want to bring some more of that information out to you guys because it was really powerful what I'd heard. This was a county auditor who left that job and ran for office because he felt that school districts throughout the state were really taking advantage of and exploiting loopholes in taxation laws and were egregiously charging property taxes to people. And so he met with a group and they fought against that property tax increase. And in this specific county, they were able to roll back property taxes. And so I'm looking to get some more education on him. He has this particular representative, his name is David Thomas, has also introduced legislation to the state Senate and House where they would limit the actual amount of tax increases that could be levied by way of property tax per levy, per time frame. Again, more stuff I need to get more education on, but I will, and I will bring it to you guys in future episodes. For here, I just wanted to talk about this really creative and smart potential solution to the housing affordability issues that we have here in the state. All right. Very good. Very good. So I am going to now, let's get into our stats for the week. All right. So this morning, there were 365 single family residences and condos. It's been a while since I talked about this. So I tell you, I pull all these stats from the MLS that I am a part of here. Yes, MLS. It covers Northeast Ohio. And I only pull stats for Lorain County. I have found that, of course, all counties have slightly different things going on. But this Lorain County is a great sample size, not only for what's going on in Northeast Ohio, but the entire state as well as the entire Midwest. You'll see these sorts of statistics and trends going on all throughout the Midwest. Once you hit the coasts, there's some significant changes. But if we're looking at the Midwest, Lorain County offers a great sample size. So 365 single family homes and condos. Again, I don't count multifamily, nor am I looking at manufactured homes and mobile homes. This is low inventory, guys. It's not changed. You know, I keep saying it. 5 years ago, this number was over 1,000 instead of the 365 that we see today. Last week, there were 70 closings in Lorain County. The median square foot of those homes sold was 1,558. The median sale price of the home sold last week was $250,000, and the median square foot value was $169.22. Next week, I am going to take a deeper look at this particular stat line here, the square foot value, to see what has been going on with home values. This is the real-time indicator that we can use to actually take a look at, our home prices continuing to creep up? Are they staying put? Are they lowering? So we'll take a closer look at that next week. The average days on market dropped down to 21 days on market for homes sold last week. This morning, the mortgage interest rate for a 30-year conventional note was 6.63%. As you can see, this number, oh man, I'm here talking and talking and talking, and you're not even looking at what I'm looking at. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. So anyways, as you can see, this stat line here continues to improve as it has come down and down and down since January 24. Every week that we've looked at it, with the exception of the last week of February and the first week of March, where it stayed the same, this interest rate continues to improve for the buyer. The big sale of the week last week was $800,000 in the city of Grafton, the village of Grafton, I should say. And I want to say, in all 85 episodes, this is the first time, it sure is, that we have seen Grafton make the cut. So, all right, let's take a look at this $800,000 beauty that's sold on Grafton Road. 4-bed, 4-bath, 5,600 square feet. That includes the finished basement, which normally you're not supposed to. But when we put stuff into our MLS, it asks for finished square feet above and finished square feet below. Realtors, Zillow, those types of third-party portals will just aggregate that square footage and list it as what that is in the house. So anyways, the 5,600 square feet includes the basement. As you can see, this big, beautiful brick home, again, sold at $800,000 in Grafton. All right, let's take a look at what's going on inside here. Gorgeous kitchen. You guys remember I bring this up often. Had Jenny Gennaro on, who is an interior designer, and she talked about what it takes to, really show and present a home well. She talked about whites and neutrals, and this is pretty neutral, and it shows it shows a good contrast between ceiling and wall. The black cabinets really pop against all that light colored. She talked about the importance of nice lighting. And you can see everything that Jenny talked about. That's a pantry, folks. You can see everything that Jenny talked about in that program. They have going on here. An accent wall here. I mean, obviously a beautiful home. If you're going to sell a home for $800,000, it should be beautiful. And this one definitely fits the bill. We'll get you guys to look at the master bath here. Look at that. Beautiful tile work all the way around. Boy, the good camera work, man. That picture makes that bathroom look like it just stretches on forever. All right. A fireplace in the master bath or master bedroom is always a great touch too. All right, guys. That's it. That's it for this week on Real Estate Bites. Thanks again for joining me. Please share this with friends and family if you think this information is important. I think this is one of maybe the more important episodes that I've done because we have real solution that should be enacted into law here in the state of Ohio. We have a real solution that needs to be presented to municipalities, city councils, zoning departments. These are real answers for the housing problem that we have here in Ohio and the affordability problem that we have here in Ohio. So share this with friends and family. Get them back here to see newer episodes of Real Estate Bites. I'm going to continue to track this theme of housing affordability and low inventory until it's no longer a problem. I'm looking for solutions. I think the state has presented some beautiful ones in partnership with the Ohio Realtors. Fantastic job, Ohio Realtors. And hey, hopefully I see you next week. So as always, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. I love you, people.